Hi, in today's video we're going to look at this poor little IM5006 master station. This particular master station was manufactured probably sometime in the last half of 1992. It's a serial number W4 series, which is there's lots of series and serial number groups for IM5006s because they were constantly improving and solving problems with it. This is considered to be when you get into the W series, it's the more modern IM5006s compared to the early ones, which started off with serial numbers 101. So what we're really going to look at, we're not going to look at the front, we're going to look at the back, because this poor little IM5000, it's had a hard life. We're looking at the back of the IM5006, and we're looking at the metal plate that attaches or ties together to two aluminum heat sinks that all the power regulation ICs and the audio amplifier IC and other voltage regulator, all the parts that generate a lot of heat, are attached to. And on this plate, you can read the history of this particular IM5006 pretty well. So we're just going to make an assumption that this was installed around June or July of 1992. And if you look at the plate carefully, and I hope that you can see it, I think you should be able to, there are all of these stamp marks on it. And the stamp marks, there are 5 altogether, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And next to each one of them are some letters. We have DG and RL. It looks like for all of them. This one, no letters on that one, not sure why. These are all NuTone in-house factory repair stamp codes, and they're the dates that the unit was worked on. So what we have here is, if we look at the dates carefully, we can see it looks like the very first one is here. It's January 16th, 1998. And then we have one here, which is September maybe 13th, 2002. And then we have October 11th, 2002, not very long after that. And maybe this one comes before it. This looks like October 1, 2002. So we went from September, let's say 13th, and it made it a couple weeks. And October 2002, October 1st, it was repaired again. And then on October 11th, 10 days after that, it was repaired another time. And then here we have one that looks like November 16th, 2004. And you might be thinking, well, that's an awful lot of repairs and they're all pretty close together. What's up with that? To understand what's up with that, you have to understand how things used to work back in the day. This IM5006 was installed in 1992. It would have been part of NuTone's MPP lifetime warranty program. And the lifetime warranty program gave the original purchaser of the system a lifetime warranty, which included parts, labor, and in-home service for as long as they lived in the house. In those days, because of a lot of technical reasons that have to do with the circuit boards used in IM5006s, NuTone's preference was for a warranty center, say us, if we had a customer with an in-warranty 5006, what they really wanted us to do was remove the entire master station and ship it back to them as a complete unit, and then they would do repairs on it on a component level on the original boards that were in the customer's set, and then send it back to us and we would simply reinstall it. They did that because there are many versions of the circuit boards used in 5006. This is the primary power supply. This is the main board of the 5006, and this is the secondary board. These boards work in sets, and you might be able to see here, even though it's upside down, this is a board number -3, and that denotes which version of that board it is. This board here, this is a -2 board, and you have to have the right combination of boards when you put a set together, otherwise it won't function correctly. Unfortunately, because there were so many changes with the boards in IM5006s, and because nobody really kept close track of which versions of boards went in which groups of serial numbers and so forth, it was hard to determine which was what, and so it was just a big jumble. And the easiest way to ensure that the repairs would be done as quickly and easily as possible, we just send the whole set back and let NuTone deal with it, and they would actually go ahead and fix it. Then you might be wondering, well, if they did all of that, how come this was repaired so many times? Well, a couple different reasons. So the first repair was in 1998. So that was about 6 years after it was installed. Whatever the original problem was is lost to time, but whatever that was resolved, I assume, and then it went along for another 4 years before we have sort of a large group of repairs that happen one after another. We have the September 13th, 2002 repair, and then just a couple weeks after that, we have an October 1st, 2002 repair, and a couple weeks after that, we have an October 11th, 2002 repair. And that's 3 repairs within a month's time. So whatever the problem was, which again is lost to time, apparently they were having a hard time sorting out the problems and getting it to work reliably. And I assume that it was sent to NuTone and it was worked on. It was sent back, it was reinstalled. On the reinstallation service call, it still didn't function correctly. So then it was sent back to NuTone again, and they worked on it a second time. And then it was sent back to the service center and went to do the second reinstallation call, and it still didn't work properly. And then the fellow sent it back to NuTone again, and they worked on it a third time. And this time when they sent it back, I'm guessing that it probably worked, or the customer was frustrated and just said, leave it, I'll just live with it as it is. Don't know which way that went. And it went along okay for about 2 years before there was some other problem, and then it was sent back again in 2004, and they did whatever they did to it, and it was reinstalled. And up until now, 14 years later, it's probably been mostly okay. You might be thinking at this point, well, how come NuTone has such a hard time fixing it? They're the factory, they're the ones that designed it, they're the ones that had it manufactured, and they're the ones that you would think would know the most about it, which I think probably was true. Why were they having such a hard time fixing it? Well, part of it has to do with the repair culture that existed at that time back at the factory and how the repairs were handled. And you have to remember, these were warranty repairs. Nobody was paying, it was covered by the warranty. In fact, NuTone had to pay the service center guy, that would be me, or someone like me, to go out and do the labor part of the call and pay the shipping and all like that. So, it wasn't a money maker by any means. So let me show you why. So here's the bag. This unit's already been repaired. I finished it just a little while ago. And these are all the parts that were replaced. And this is kind of a standard pile of IM5000 components. It's pretty typical repair for an IM5000 at this point in time. So let me show you the parts that I can tell were replaced by NuTone at different times while it was there for repair. So we can take those away, that away, and we can take these away and this away, because those are all original parts. We can pull out that one, and we can pull out that one, and we can pull out that one, and that one, and that one. And I think that's all. Yep, that's everything. All right. So if we look at our little pile, this pile here, these are all original 1992 parts. We'll pull those all off to the side. Here we have 5 parts that have been replaced at different times during the course of the warranty repairs on this little IM5006. And if we look at these carefully, the first thing we should do is we should count the parts. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So what does that tell you? What that tells us is that each time, for the most part, and very likely based on other sets I've seen, each time this set was sent back in for its warranty repair, as many as 1 part got replaced. Because if there were more parts that were replaced, I would have been able to see it, because you can always tell hand soldered parts compared to manufactured soldered parts. And we've got 5. I know for a fact either this little black one right here or this little black one right here is the one that typically goes bad first in an IM5006. These are both the same values and they're used in a similar portion of the board, so I didn't keep track of which one came out first. But one of these was replaced, and it's the one that always fails first. And I cannot tell you how many IM5006s I've worked on where it's had one factory warranty repair and they replaced exactly that one, and that's all. And that was enough to make it work again, so that's good enough, let's send it back. At some point, another one of the same type was replaced. That's number 2. At one point, this one was replaced. This is a power reservoir cap for the audio and tuner section of the board. That was replaced. Oddly enough, this is one that rarely actually does go bad, even though in our rebuilds we always replace them. We have this one down here. This one is a little mod cap that was added to the back of the board. Again, it's not a part that usually fails, so why it was replaced at some point in this one I don't know. And then we have my favorite one in the group. We have the orange one. And the thing that I find most interesting about the orange one is that this one actually works in conjunction with, let's see, with this one right here. These two are part of the voltage regulation in the power supply section of the main board, and these two work in conjunction with each other. And while they felt it was necessary to replace the original one with the orange one, they didn't really want to bother to replace this one that works along with it. And when they replaced this one, while the value is correct, the voltage rating is much higher than what it was originally. And in many cases, this is not a good practice if you were going to up the voltage in this one, which is, there's nothing technically wrong with doing this, although it's not something that I really think is a good idea. In many cases, it's somewhat amateurish to do that. And it would be done typically because the rule is the higher the voltage, the longer the life. But there are limits to that, and it's not really the best practice. But if you were going to replace this one with a higher voltage part, then, and especially if you consider that it was sent all the way to Ohio and someone had to take it all apart and figure out what was wrong with it, and they were desoldering this one, and this one's sitting like this, and this one's sitting right next to it on the board like this, you would think that you would replace them both, don't you? I know I would. So that's often the reason why you see a lot of IM5006s that have had a lot of repairs, because the repairs that were done to them were done very minimalistically, and that doesn't lead to longevity on the repair. It just leads to more and more repairs in shorter and shorter amount of time. So one of the other things I'd like to point out, which has nothing to do with the NuTone rebuild per se, but it has something to do with every IM5006 that gets rebuilt, has to do with this connector right here. So this connector right here is this connector right here. This is another IM5006 main board, and this is an original connector. They're always this gray color, and this is where the individual wires from the remote speakers are terminated. You have orange, orange, white, red, red, white, and black, black, white. So these should always be changed in the course of any repair on every IM5006. I'm going to try to do this so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So this type of connector is commonly referred to as a Phoenix connector. I think because the company that originally designed it was the Phoenix company. And the ones we use as replacement, they're actually made by the Phoenix company. They're the real deal. And the way this works is you have the openings here along the face of the connector. And you can look, if you look inside, you have the 6 holes for the 6 different types of wire. And then on the top of the connector here is a set screw. So you stuff the wires in the hole and you turn the set screw. And there's a little clamp inside that threads down, and it bites into the wires and holds them in place and makes a connection. If you look really carefully in this particular one, and I'm trying to light it up so you can see it, you can sort of see the little clamp here inside number 1. It's the sort of coppery colored part. But in number 2, it's missing. In number 3, it's there. 4, it's there. 5, it's there. And 6, it's missing. And even in the holes where it is there, they're all kind of mangled because they get over tightened and the wires get stuffed in inappropriately, and they're not backed off all the way to give you the full amount of opening and everything. And what this leads to is loose and faulty connections between the master station and your remote stations. Here you can see sitting next to the original gray one is the replacement Phoenix connector, which is the green one. And these should always be replaced, and we always replace them on every IM5006, and we actually usually replace them on the IM5000s also because they get mangled up also from rough handling. And this assures that when you make your speaker wire terminations, you have good solid connections and you won't get bundle noise or static or erratic operation because the wires really aren't being held in place and aren't terminated correctly as they should be. The point of all this is that if you have a NuTone IM5006 and it's been repaired a couple times before, and those repairs weren't something you had to pay for, and you have another problem with it, it's most likely because whatever repair that was done to it originally, they were very minimalistic. They were warranty repairs, and NuTone was saving every dollar they probably could, I think. It doesn't mean the unit's unreliable. We have a pretty good success rate with them, and so far our methods of repairing seem to make them last longer, although we have a few more years before we know that for a fact. But if you have an IM5006 and you're having problems with it, it's been repaired before, it's not because it's an unreliable set, it's oftentimes because it hasn't really been repaired properly. So that's just a little insight of how things were back in the day and how they can lead to problems today. I hope you found this interesting and perhaps helpful. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up on YouTube because that always helps. There'll be a banner right here that shows you how to subscribe. Go to our YouTube homepage, click on the bell or on the wheel, put in your email address, and every time we post a new video, you'll get a notification and you can watch it. That's all for today. See you on the next video.